Hey, San Diego moms, attorney Amy Hsiao here of Hsiao Law, and I am so thrilled to be taking over the San Diego Moms Facebook page today. I am here with Cindy Grossman, the Executive Director of Kids Turn San Diego, and today we will be sharing tips on single moms and single parents during COVID-19. All right, so we'll be sharing some thoughts and some resources at the end, and make sure to post any questions you have in the comments. And if we cannot get to them before the end, then we'll make sure to email you the answers. Okay, so Cindy, would you like to just kind of give a brief introduction about yourself and what is Kids Turn and what does it do?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Grossman. I'm the Executive Director at Kids Turn San Diego. And Kids Turn San Diego is an organization working with families experiencing separation, divorce, and military transitions. So our biggest program is our family workshops for separated and divorced families. And I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of the tips that we provide within that class or that program. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm so excited. So just to give everybody a little bit of background why we're doing this. So I'm Amy Hsiao, your personal family lawyer, and I have a boutique law firm and I help families protect their children and their loved ones during incapacity and death. And because we're facing COVID-19 and I feel I'm on the board of Kids Turn and I feel it's so important, just utterly important, especially during this time for families experiencing separation and divorce, especially for the children. I know it's been so difficult, and we just and Kids Turn just had a graduation ceremony this past weekend for all the parents, right? And so Cindy can talk more about that, but I thought it's a timely topic, for us to really learn about, for single parents and co-parents to learn about how can we get along better, right? And how can we just communicate in a way that's best for our children. Right, so I'm going to ask Cindy some questions here in a little bit. So should we just go ahead and get started, Cindy?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first question. So during COVID-19, what are your top 3 tips for parents who have to be co-parent or parallel parent, or they're just single parents?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question. So if your children are sharing custody, meaning that they have 2 houses and they have a mom's house and a dad's house, or 2 parent houses, whatever that may look like for your family. The most important tip that I can share is, as you're managing this pandemic, and you're probably beyond this tip already, but if not, it's really important to put aside your own personal feelings, because at this time, it has to be about your children. We have had parents come through our family workshop. We actually went virtual since mid-March. So we've been running these programs virtually, and we've had quite a few parents, unfortunately, tell us that one of the parents has been holding the children from the other. And this is a very sad time. This is not what we recommend to parents. The rationale is that, well, he or she is an essential worker, so that puts my children at risk. And really the tip around that is that if your co-parent is an essential worker, you have to believe and trust that wherever they work, that they're doing everything possible to be safe and healthy, right? I mean, like when you go into the grocery store, you see the grocery store workers wearing masks, wearing those face shields. They have the plastic sneeze guards, I think they're called, at the checkout. They're wearing gloves, they're sanitizing. If your co-parent is an essential worker, it is their goal to stay healthy because they need to go to work every day. They would never consider putting your child at risk. They are probably managing themselves with the protocols in place as their job at even a higher level of disinfecting and ensuring health and safety as possible. So it's really not fair when we as a co-parent say, oh, you're an essential worker, so our kids can't be with you. That's not fair to the parent, and it's not fair to your kids, and your children will not understand why you made that decision. And so I guess that tip would be to be thoughtful and you have to figure out a way to deal with your own fears and your own anxiety so your children do not get stuck in that, because that's what happens when you say, nope, you can't see your other parent anymore. Sorry. Your children get stuck. They don't understand. So that would be one tip. Another would be, there's two paths that you could take in a co-parenting, whether you're co-parenting. Co-parenting really means that you're making decisions on the benefit of your children, right? And you're working together. Parallel parenting, as Amy had mentioned, is more where you're on a parallel path. Everybody's doing their own thing, but sort of minding their own business and taking care of things in their own home and during their own time. Whatever path you're on. In regards to COVID, if you're choosing the path of, I have some feelings, whatever they are, anger, sadness, guilt, anxiety, frustration, whatever that feeling is. But if you're choosing the path of, I have these feelings and that's how I'm going to respond, so it's my way or the highway, sorry, you don't agree with wearing face masks 24/7, well, then you can't see our kids. Or I'm angry with you because you cheated on me, so therefore, if you choose to take our kids to birthday parties or family gatherings, sorry, you're not going to see them anymore. That's a path you can choose. It's not the healthiest path, to be honest. The other option of path that you can choose would be, okay, let's figure out what's in the best interest of our children and let's be on the same page. Even if you can't be on the same page, even if you, because your conflict level, you can't communicate it about it. But the same page might be that I'm going to trust that my co-parent does not want our kids to be at risk. That no, even if they're going to a birthday party, there's probably been some discussion and some screenings about who's going to be there, about what the protocols are going to be. You know, is everybody going to be social distanced? Are they wearing masks? What's the rules? So part of it is you have to be thoughtful. And, you know, the other thing is this, once you get divorced, whether you chose it or it just happened because the other person wanted it, there's one really strong reality that we all have to face when there's a divorce. And that, well, actually there's two. One with regards to the other person is that when you're divorced, you're no longer in a relationship with that person. When you sign those divorce papers mean that you no longer have any power or control over what that other person does. They are now their own individual and you are your own individual. There's no ex anymore. Like an ex, when you say that's my ex, that's still a relationship. And we challenge people to look at that as when you're divorced, if you have children, the relationship is not about this is my ex, because that's a relationship with you and the other person. It has to become a relationship around parenting. And that's it. That's the only thing when you're divorced that you need to be paying attention to is my kids. And so whether you choose to co-parent, meaning that you're going to have a relationship and together you're going to make decisions for your kids, or parallel or any other cooperative parenting, there's a lot of different models out there. It's got to be about the children. And if you can step into that place, then decisions are different. Like, you know, as a summertime tip, for example, you know, well, now I'm just hearing today that our beaches are closing for July 4th, but let's say you're going to, if they're open and you're going to take your children to the beach. Well, be prepared. Teach your kids about social distancing, no matter their age. Talk with them about the importance of not sitting close to other people. Wear a mask. I know it's hot. Nobody likes masks. They're not the most comfortable thing in the world. But this becomes an issue of public health and safety and the safety of ourselves and the other people around us. But guess what? We don't have control over anybody else. Whether you're on the beach and you're around other people, if people choose to sit within 3 feet of your chairs, well, you can look at them and say, hey, can you move? But that's ridiculous. Get up your own blanket and move. Take control of your own life and your own safety without worrying about other people. And it's a good example of with divorce too and co-parenting. It's really got to be about what decisions can I make for me that are in the best interest of my children? And if we're at the beach and this other family comes and they're 3 feet, well, we need to move our blankets over. Sometimes it's that simple, but I think in divorce, we get so stuck in our head around the feeling aspect of it, that prevents us from making maybe the best decisions that we could in the moment. Does that make sense, Amy?
It makes a lot of sense, and I totally agree with that. And so let me just kind of summarize what you said. So a main theme that you kept mentioning is the trust, right? And it's a choice, right? It doesn't come naturally. You have to choose to trust. And as you said, to really know and trust that the other person is also doing whatever they can for the best interest of the child. Now, you also mentioned, the co-parenting and parallel parenting. And one thing that I see a lot that becomes an obstacle for people is how do they even start that conversation with their ex? One person may have all the intentions to want to work it out, but what if they couldn't even talk about it? How do you even have that conversation with the ex or the co-parent about these kind of things?
It's a really good question. So one, I would encourage the family to come to our family workshop program, because in that program, that's where we're teaching you a lot of skills to engage in these conversations. But for today, I guess the biggest suggestion would be factual and businesslike. So what does that look like? So when you start a conversation with your co-parent that starts with, I don't think you're doing things right, or things are not right, or we're not taking care of our kids, or, from an emotional place, whatever that looks like, you're not going to have good results. But if you start from a place of thinking about them, and what we encourage parents to do in our programs is, if you're going to send a text, whether it's a text, an email, something to Talking Parents, Family Wizard, whatever it is, write it out, step away from it, and come back the next day or a few hours later, and make sure it's not full of emotion and it's really what you want to say. So business-like. So an example of that might be, dear co-parent, I know that the kids are with you on the 4th of July weekend, and I just heard that the beaches are closing, but I know that the kids were really excited about going to the beach with you. I want to help manage their worries that they heard that the beaches are closed. How would you like me to respond to them about that?
Very neutral.
Just very neutral, very businesslike. The response that because you could have sent that same email or that same text, and it could have been, oh my gosh, the kid said that they're going to the beach with you on the 4th of July and the beaches are closed and you better not take them.
Yeah, or how could you even take them?
Right, or how could you? So it's really about being businesslike and factual and unemotional is probably the best way to start that conversation.
Great. We have one question that just came in through the Facebook. It says, I don't co-parent, but a close family member does. So what precautions or advice would you give as far as taking kids out of the country, specifically Mexico, during this time to see their other parent?
Well, that's a tough one. I would probably leave that one to the rules of the CDC, and if it's acceptable or not. If it's permissible and your child's able to go to another country, what control do you have? So you have control to educate your child, to talk about health and safety, sending them with the proper tools. So perhaps you talk with your child about, and depending on the age, talk at their level, but this virus is a real thing and we need to keep ourselves safe. So here's some gloves that you can wear. Here's some sanitizing gel. Every time you touch something, you know, or like every hour, just pull out your sanitizing gel, teach them how to put it on their hands and put it back in your pocket. Perhaps you get them like a keychain one that just hooks onto their belt or hooks onto their backpack or whatever they're taking with them so they have it with them. Talk with them about washing their hands, about singing happy birthday 2 times. You know, we've heard about that at the beginning. That's a good strategy. Get them some masks. If they don't have masks already, make sure they're going with some masks. I know I was in Target last weekend and they're actually selling packs of 3 face masks that are disposable. So buy some for them. That's the things that you have control over. Educating your children and sending them with the proper tools that they can use and the knowledge in their head of how to keep themselves safe. Going to your co-parent and saying, oh, make sure they're wearing a mask and give them sanitizing gel. No, just send it with them and talk with your kids ahead of time about the importance of using these materials.
Mm-hmm. Good. And so what would you say is the biggest mental health takeaway for any parents that are facing this situation?
The biggest mental health takeaway, I would say, is it is totally normal to feel anxious and worried and have fear. That is completely normal. And it is very important not to share your anxieties or fears and your worries with your children. Do that with other adults, friends, family, colleagues, therapists, support groups, Facebook. But the best and most important thing is don't share it with your children. When your children hear that you're anxious, it makes them anxious.
Yeah. And I remember one time, Cindy, you mentioned that when it gets really, really difficult, one image that single parents or co-parent can think about is, I think you mentioned like 20 years from now, like at graduation ceremony. Do you want to kind of elaborate that?
Yeah, and we talk about in our program. So once you get a divorce and you have children, couple things. Every time you say something bad about your child's other parent, remember this. It's like sending an arrow through your child's heart. So if you say something bad about and for example, especially when you have said or your child has heard their entire life, you look just like your mom or you look just like your dad. So when kids hear that, and now there's a divorce, and now they're hearing people say, oh, your mom is this, your dad is that, they're bad, they're this, they're that, any negative, the child says internally, oh, wait, everybody's told me my whole life I look just like that parent. I guess that's me. And that's not a good thing that you're teaching your children. So it's really important not to say negative things about your child's other parent. The other part of that is to remember that your kids are going to grow up. They're going to go to elementary school graduation, high school graduation. They're going to do proms. They're going to go to college and graduate. They're going to play football or dance or theater or basketball, whatever they choose. They're going to have games, and parents need to support their kids, because whether you're together or you're divorced, it is about your children. And football stadiums, for example, are huge. A theater, when your kid is in a theater, it's huge. There's always a right side of the theater and a left side. There's always the home side or the away side. Nobody is saying that as co-parents, they have to sit together. No, but your children need to see you there. And they need to see you, if you're remarried, they need to see you with the other family. Like, there's no reason that when people get a divorce and then there's a remarriage and the step parents want to come to those events, if you kind of look at it this way, perhaps they're not a step parent, but they're a bonus parent. That's an extra set of eyes who's supporting your child. And if they want to come to the school award event or the football game, or they want to be there for prom pictures or, the award ceremony in third grade, how is that a bad thing? That means another adult cares enough about your kids that they want to be there to support them. So if you can come in it from that angle and see that perspective and envision 20 years as your child is getting married, do you want to be that parent that is refusing to attend your kid's wedding because there are other parents there? I don't think so. Most people would say, no, I'm going to be there. Well, this is the time that you have to do it right. And you have to decide that you're going to be on that path and be that person who's going to put your kids first and let go of the feelings that you have for your ex. Those feelings disappeared when you signed those divorce papers. And if you're still holding on to them, that's about you. And so you need to get some help and support for yourself to be able to forgive, grieve, and then ultimately be able to move on.
That's awesome. I love the phrase bonus parent. So instead of the the other person or the stepmom and dad, it's a bonus parent. So then the children get like two moms or two dads. That's awesome. Like four adults caring and loving for them. So it's a great perspective. I love that. Thank you so much, Cindy. And I'm going to post in the comment the website for Kids Turn San Diego. So, and Cindy, do you want to talk a little bit about the family workshop? How can people sign up if they're interested in learning about more? Do they just go to the website?
Yeah, anybody can go to our website, www.kidsturnSD.org. Make sure you hit the SD, add the SD in there. But we do one workshop a month. We're actually starting one this coming Tuesday. The workshops are either on Saturday mornings or weekday evenings. So the July one starts on July 7th. Right now, we're running them virtually. And that is not online. It is virtually just like we're doing now through a Zoom session. We have 20 parents plus sometimes attending each Zoom session. So it is sort of in-person Zoom, really. It's a 4-day program, total of 9 hours over 4 weeks. So the Tuesday program will be on 4 consecutive Tuesdays. And this is a program that the whole family attends. So the program was designed for both parents and children to attend at the same time. One big question we get is, do I have to sit in the same room as my co-parent? No. Co-parents learn separately. So even on Zoom, you're in a separate classroom with other parents, learning the exact same skills at the same time as your co-parent. And the teens, actually children 12 and older, participate at the same time as well. And for July, the 5 to 11-year-old children will participate. The parents and teens will do Tuesday. The younger children will do Wednesdays. And the reason why we're doing that is because we know that not everybody has enough computers in their home. So we want to make the program accessible to everybody. So we're sort of doing a 2-day model this month.
I love that it's not just for the parents, but it's also for the children, right? And I was at the graduation ceremony last weekend, and we saw how the children were writing cards or letters to their parents, and they were so happy that their parents finally are able to communicate smoothly, right?
Yeah, and the goals of the family workshop really, as you talked about the children writing notes, the goals for the children is not only to realize that they're not alone, because when you get into a group, whether it's in person or here on Zoom, and you see 6 or 8 other children, and one of the first questions that we ask is, how many of you live in 2 houses or are from a divorced family? And every hand goes up. All of a sudden you're normal. You're like everybody else and you totally fit in. And that in and of itself reduces so much anxiety and isolation for children. The other thing that they learn is they learn that the divorce of their parents is not their fault. You may think that your kids never believe that, but I can tell you 9 out of 10 children who attend our program believe that the divorce or the conflict that their parents are continuing to have is that the children are to blame for that. They believe that. And thirdly, we teach the children, and most importantly, or equally important really, is they learn how to identify and articulate and share their feelings. And that's, Amy, that's what you were referencing, that the children get to send notes to their parents at the graduation. We had some of our teens actually created posters in which they shared their thoughts and feelings with their parents, which was pretty powerful, I thought.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And the kids learn to have better boundaries with their parents and are able to share their emotions and feelings as well. So I love that. Thank you so much, Cindy. And we only have a few minutes left. So I do want to get to the resources that we are here to share with everybody. And so if you are interested in learning more, definitely go to Kids Turn San Diego to learn more about the upcoming workshops. Or if you want to be a volunteer, and we are always looking for more board members if you're interested, even if you're, you don't need to attend the workshop, but if you're just interested in helping support children to be happier during, parent separation or divorce, then this is a great organization, a great nonprofit to participate in. And then I also have some resources for everybody attending. I'm going to post in the comment here. So the Kids Protection Planning Workshop is something that I do, and it's totally free to everybody. It's a 30-minute webinar you can attend and to just learn more about how to protect your children. Like, as a single parent, as a, co-parent, if something were to happen to you and if you were hospitalized, how do you ensure your children are properly taken care of by their loved ones if you had to be in the hospital, right? So we'll give you all the resources, all the tools you need to get that set up. And how do you ensure your assets are properly protected so they do go to your loved ones, your children, instead of any other adults, right? So we have all the education for you in the Kids Protection Planning webinar. So I'll post that in the comment here so people can get access to that. One final question that just came in a parallel parenting situation, if one co-parent creates a legal document without the consent and or signature of the other parent, will the courts acknowledge it? Okay, so that's a question for me. So the answer depends on what kind of legal document it is. In general, and also depends on what process you're in. If you're still, in the divorce process, you do need the other parent to consent. And also with guardian nominations, if you share custody, you do need both parents to consent. And so, there is risk when you just do things on your own without consulting the other person. There's definitely risk there. So that's why Cindy kept emphasizing, if you can get on the same page with the other person, that's really the best. And same thing on the legal side. And we see, I'm not a divorce attorney, I'm an estate planning attorney, but we see this a lot. In my work, we help families, come up with wills and trusts to help them protect their assets and name guardians, right? And a lot of the times we see one parent would come to me and would be like, okay, I want to nominate this person. And the other parent would be like, I want to nominate that person. My suggestion is, in order for whatever nomination it is to work for your children, it really is best if the parents can come to, be on the same page. And just know that there is risk if you have different nominations. And so I'll just leave it at that. But if you have any additional questions, you can always reach me separately, individually. And I'm going to post my email in the comment. So you have my email and my the link to my webinar on kids protection planning. And any last minute things you want to share, Cindy, with our audience here?
I would thank you, Amy, for having me today. And I guess my last thing that I would share is that when you're in a divorced family, it's important to remember, no matter how you feel about the other person, that is the other parent of your children. And your children have the right and deserve to love both of their parents, and they have the right and deserve to get to see both parents. And so I really urge you to remember that going forward, no matter how you feel about the other person, it is your child's other parent. and they have the right to love them, and they have the right to be loved by them, even if you don't agree what that might look like. So that would be my big takeaway, is put your kids first.
Thank
Remember
you.
that put them first, and they are our kids, not your kids.
That's
Remember
so
that too.
awesome, Cindy. It's like a fresh of air and hope in this time, especially. And so thank you so much, Cindy. And I would just piggyback on that on the legal side. I know as people going through the divorce and separation process, it can be so emotional. But really, when you look at it, in the end of the days, the more you can mediate things, the more you can come to the same page, the more you can work it out without the attorneys, the more money you can save for your children, for their college education fund. So the goal here, from the legal perspective, I would really also urge people to think about how can we work together to maximize our wealth for the entire family, even though it's not in the same household anymore, but it's still going to be a family. Like that person's still going to be the child's, our child's dad or mom, right? Still one big family. So how do we all work together to maximize that wealth so that our children could benefit the most out of it? So thank you all very much for watching today's Facebook Live. And if you have any questions, do feel free to email us or leave a comment at the comment box. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day and stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.